Hello everyone, and thanks for signing up for Zero to Permit. In Zero to Permit, we're going to show you a robust framework for getting through the permitting process so that you can get on with your business. I'm Grant Aguinaldo. I'm a principal here at Envera Consulting, and very simply, I help people stop wasting time when it comes to air quality permitting and air quality regulations. Now, before we get started, I want to talk about a harsh truth. And that is that people don't fully understand the permitting process. But it's not really all their fault. You see, the AQMD's website is not very clear and straightforward when it comes to permitting. And so, arguably, your ability to get a permit from the AQMD is really based on your ability to navigate through the AQMD's website to get the information that you need to prepare and submit a permit application. And so because folks don't understand the permitting process, folks run into delays when it comes to permitting, and this simply happens because they're going in blind. They don't know what they're looking for, or they don't know what to expect. And so, because of this, they run into problems, especially problems with compliance. Not to mention all the wasted time and resources associated with the overall project, simply because they're trying to figure out their things on their own. And when you do all of this, ultimately it can lead to frustration. It leads to frustration with the agency, the regulations, maybe the overall project, and that's because there's simply no end in sight. No one, what does the end look like? How do I get out of this rabbit hole? Or how did I get into this rabbit hole in the first place? The point here is that yes, permitting is complex. We get that. But permitting and going through the permitting process is required to operate your equipment and your business in compliance with the AQMD's rules and regulations. And so if your objective is to do business and stay out of trouble with the regulations, then the truth is that you must embrace permitting. There's no two ways around it. And I'd argue that's why you're here. And if that's the case, then I think you're going to take a lot away from our short permitting seminar. So again, welcome to Zero to Permit. In terms of goals, there are 3 goals for Zero to Permit. The first goal is to give you a general idea about permits and the permitting process. Here, we're talking about the very basics of permitting. This is important because without the basics, you won't have any context or rationale about what you're doing or even why you're doing it. And so we want to give you that background within Zero to Permit. By doing this, when it comes to everything that you do with respect to permitting, from now and every point forward, you'll have a reference point that tells you, why are we doing what we're doing? The second goal is to show you what goes into a complete permit application. And this is important because without a complete permit application, the AQMD cannot process your application and do their job even if they wanted to. And so preparing a complete permit application is very important. And lastly, we want to share actionable strategies. Again, actionable strategies that can help you get your next air permit. We're not going to talk on platitudes. We won't talk about policy or what's happening in Washington or the politics. All of that has no bearing on what you can and need to do today to get your permit tomorrow. And so we want to share with you the exact strategies that you can use to get your permit. And so to meet those 3 goals, we've broken up this seminar into 4 modules. Within those 4 modules, we've further broken up the material into 1 or more video lessons. Now, if you need more information, there will be ways for you to get in touch with us to discuss very specific questions or situations that may come up or that you may have about your permit. When you work with the regulations, this is what you'll find. You'll find that the regulations as a whole are written very broadly, but at the same time, they're very specific. And in either case, there are going to be gaps in the regulations, gaps that you're going to need to deal with. You may have something that may not fit entirely into one regulation or may not fit entirely into another one. In essence, there will be areas of gray. Regulations are black and white. But when you start to work with these regulations within your company, within your business, within your specific operation, you'll find that just the reality of the whole thing is that your process will find the gray area of the regulation as quickly as possible. And in fact, we tell people that your ability to successfully comply with all the regulations is really based on your effectiveness or your ability to manage these gray areas. And so if you have a team that can help you manage these gray areas, you're going to be better off than the next person when it comes to compliance. And so with that out of the way, let's talk about what's included within these 4 modules. Right now, we're in module 0, where we're talking about the entire seminar. In a sense, we're giving you a roadmap to the end. We're giving you a roadmap to put an end to the madness when it comes to permitting and the permitting process. In the first module, we're going to talk about the nuts and bolts of an air permit. Remember that our goal here is to give you the basic understanding of why a permit is needed. Why are we doing the things that we are doing in the manner that we are doing them? Now, to do this, we have found that there is no better way to talk about the basics of anything than to use the 5W approach, which is the who, the what, the when, the where, and the why. And so in the first module, we're going to talk about the basics of permits and the permitting process, and we'll talk to you about them in the format of the 5 Ws. In module 2, we're going to talk about the 3 core elements of a permit application, a complete permit application. Truth be told, if someone in your company came to you today and told you that you need to get an air permit, the first thing that you would do, if you didn't have any place to start, is you would go to the AQMD's website and you would simply look up what is needed to prepare a permit application. We've done this ourselves. We've seen our clients do this. We've seen this unfold 1,000 times. Now, depending on how well you can navigate the AQMD's website, you may actually find the page on the AQMD's website that talks about permits. You may actually follow the information and you may actually submit what you think is going to be a complete permit application. But what you'll find is that what you've submitted is actually an incomplete permit application, even though you've got the information from the AQMD's website. And so the goal of the second module is to show you and to tell you exactly what goes into a permit application. There are 3 core components, and you'll learn about these components in module 2. In module 3, we're going to share the exact strategies that you can use to get your next air permit. Again, these are the same strategies we use with our clients here at Envera Consulting. When we share these strategies with you, you can immediately implement these strategies and you'll be on a better path to getting your permit than the next person, and that's because these strategies are tried and true. Now, like I said before, permitting can be complicated. We get it. But it's a necessary part of doing business here in California. Now, there is a method to the madness, and we're going to talk about that too. But in general, what we find is that in order to really understand the method to the madness and to successfully navigate the permitting process, it's really important to understand 2 things. It's not the reasons why permits are needed. It's not what goes into the permits. It's not even the strategies. It's simply just 2 things. Number 1, what is the role of the AQMD? And number 2, what is your role or the role of the applicant in the permitting process? The role of the AQMD with respect to permitting is to review the permit application and determine if the equipment can operate and be constructed in compliance with all of the rules and regulations subject to this piece of equipment. I'll read it again. The role of the AQMD is to review the permit application that you have prepared and have submitted and determine if this piece of equipment can be constructed and operated in a manner that ensures compliance with all the rules and the regulations that apply to this piece of equipment. That's the role of the AQMD. They simply review the material that you give to them, that you prepare, and then they'll make a determination based on that information if this piece of equipment or the piece of equipment being permitted can comply. That's all that they do. Now let's talk about your role as the applicant. Now we just finished talking about the role of the AQMD. The role of the applicant is to provide all of the information that the AQMD needs to make their determination. Now knowing that, you need to be absolutely sure that your application is complete. Because if you want to eliminate problems, then the best way to do so is to ensure that you have an application that is complete so that the AQMD can review that application and make the determination. Knowing the role of the AQMD and knowing your role in the permitting process is by far the most important thing that you can do when preparing a permit application. It tells you who is doing what. Who is responsible for what? What am I responsible for providing to the AQMD? So with that, what we're trying to do here is we're trying to demystify the permitting process and the process of getting a permit. We also want to put you on the right path so that you can just get your permit and get on with your business. Because without your air permit, it's going to be very hard for your business to grow, to purchase new equipment, to replace old equipment. It's going to be very difficult, and the process could be very long. And so with that, let's get started. We'll see you in Module 1.